She wasn't supposed to open that envelope. And yet, the truth inside it rewrote everything she believed about her past. For 40 years, it remained untouched, sealed beneath layers of silence, memory, and dust. It lived hidden in the back of a drawer, inside a wooden box most people would never notice. But sometimes the things we are not meant to find are exactly the ones that change us forever. She found it on a quiet afternoon, sun against the kitchen tiles, the house too silent, the air too still. Her mother had been gone for 2 months, and grief had begun to fold itself into routine, the kind of routine that makes you forget big things and be wounded by small ones. The plants in the window still leaned toward the light the way her mother taught her to turn them. The mug her mother used every morning still sat upside down in the drying rack, as if waiting for hands that would never touch it again. Grief wasn't loud anymore. It just waited with her in the corners of the house. She opened drawers not out of curiosity, but because she needed somewhere to put her mother's scarves. She ran her fingers over each fabric, feeling perfume that had not yet learned she was gone. She only wanted to organize what she couldn't let go of yet. But the box was there, wooden, dark, familiar, and foreign. It had always been there, she realized. She had dusted around it, moved it a few centimeters, never once thinking it belonged to her. And when she lifted the lid, she felt something inside her shift. One envelope. Yellowed by decades. Edges soft like old skin. Her name written by a hand she recognized instantly, her father's. The father she barely remembered. The father she lost when she was 17. She remembered the day the phone rang, the way her mother's face collapsed without tears, the way the world tilted slightly and never fully straightened again. A car accident, they said. Too fast, too late, too sudden. There were flowers at the funeral, there were speeches and careful words, but no one ever talked about who he had been before he became a husband and a father. Her heart stopped. Her hands hesitated. But silence is a kind of invitation, and that letter was calling her like a voice from another life. She held it to her chest first. Sometimes we need to feel history before we read it. The paper was colder than she expected, as if it had preferred the dark. She closed her eyes and tried to remember his voice, the exact sound of it when he called her by the nickname only he used. It had been years since she'd heard it anywhere but in dreams. And then, she opened it. A slow tear across history. A sound small but irreversible. And the truth finally exhaled after 40 silent years. The room seemed to lean closer as she unfolded the pages, as if the walls themselves had been waiting for this moment. Inside the envelope wasn't just a letter. There was a photograph. Her father holding a woman she had never seen. Not her mother. Not anyone in family stories. A stranger, smiling like she belonged somewhere she never existed. The woman's hair was pulled back with a red scarf. Her eyes were bright, laughing at something beyond the frame. Her father's arm was around her shoulders in a way that looked natural, practiced, like this had been their normal once. They stood beside a lake she didn't recognize, water shining behind them, the sky young and wide above their heads. The room went still. The memories she thought were solid began to fracture. Had she known her father at all? Had her mother known this letter existed? Had this other woman once imagined a life that included her? She sat down before her knees gave way. The chair creaked under a weight that wasn't just hers. She unfolded the pages, her father's handwriting slanted, heavy, like someone writing the truth too late. If you are reading this, it means the past has finally reached you. I could not tell you when you were young. And I could not leave this world carrying what should have been yours. She read that line 3 times. The ink had bled slightly into the paper, turning the edges of the letters soft, almost tender. Because truth, when hidden too long, becomes a ghost we aren't prepared to face. He wrote about a woman before her mother, a love he never healed from. He wrote about the first time he saw her, standing at the edge of the lake in that same red scarf, refusing to come closer because she didn't trust the water or him. He wrote about the first time she laughed, suddenly, freely, and how he felt something inside him choose her before his mind had time to object. A promise broken by circumstance, not choice. A child they planned, a future they lost. There had been an illness, then a hospital room, then a silence he didn't know how to cross. And guilt he carried into every year of marriage that followed. He loved her mother, but part of him lived somewhere else, with someone he could never forget. He never meant to divide himself, he wrote. He just never learned how to sew all his pieces into one life. He ended the letter with a sentence that tore through the quiet. I loved you more because I lived with loss. I held you knowing how quickly love can disappear. Forgive me not for what I did, but for what I could not stop feeling. She closed the envelope with shaking hands. The words didn't erase him. They multiplied him. He was no longer just the father who died too early. He was the young man by the lake, the man who tried to start over, the husband who carried too much history inside his chest. How do you grieve someone twice? How do you forgive a truth that never asked permission to exist? She placed the photograph on the table. 2 lives she never knew intersected with hers. 2 truths, one lived, one hidden. And she was the bridge between them without ever knowing. She imagined her mother finding out. Maybe it was through a forgotten letter, the smell of a perfume that wasn't hers, a look that lasted too long when his mind drifted backward. She imagined the quiet arguments, the pauses at dinner, the nights he stayed in the living room long after everyone else had gone to bed. No plates thrown. No doors slammed. Just years of staying, even when it hurt. In that moment, she felt something unexpected. Not betrayal. Not anger. But understanding. We forget our parents were once young, wild, imperfect, human. We forget our parents were once young, wild, imperfect, human. We inherit the parts of them we never get to witness. We live with echoes of choices we were never asked to make. She thought of the times her mother had looked at her with a softness she didn't quite understand, as if seeing something behind her, or before her. Maybe she had been seeing that other life, the one that never happened, and choosing this one anyway. She looked at the envelope again. It hadn't stolen her father from her. It returned him. Not as memory, but as man. Flawed. Wounded. Real. A man who had loved badly and deeply at the same time. A man who had tried, in the only clumsy way he knew, to leave her the truth he hadn't been brave enough to speak. And somehow, she felt closer to him than she ever did while he was alive. For the first time, she didn't feel like a child looking up at a myth. She felt like a woman looking across at another human being and saying, quietly, I see you now. She placed the letter back inside its envelope, but not to hide it. To protect it. She slid the photograph in beside it, letting their faces meet in the dark where they had waited for so long. Because the truth deserves to breathe, even when it arrives late. Some secrets destroy. Some secrets heal. This one did both. It broke the image she had held of her parents. And in the same motion, it gave her the chance to love them more honestly. That night she left the box on the table. She made tea in her mother's favorite mug and sat beside it, as if waiting for someone else to come and read with her. The house was still, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full of versions of them, younger, older, braver, more afraid, all sharing the same small space for the first time. And tomorrow, she would open the box again. Because she found one more envelope inside it. Unopened. Unlabeled. Waiting. She didn't know yet if she was ready for another truth. Her fingers brushed the edge of that second envelope only for a moment, the way you touch the surface of cold water before deciding whether to dive in. But she knew this much. Once you read one truth, the others stop being optional. They wait. They follow. They ask to be heard. So she turned off the kitchen light, leaving only the soft glow above the stove. The box stayed on the table, the envelopes resting inside like hearts between beats. Tomorrow, she promised herself. Tomorrow I will find out what else they never said out loud.